Good evening. Welcome to our webinar about teaching high school history with confidence. This is John Notgrass. I'm here with my parents, Ray and Charlene Notgrass, who are going to be sharing with us about our curriculum, but also some general ideas for teaching high school at home. We have a chat option available where you're welcome to type in questions as we go along, and we will try to address all of those before the end of the webinar. We're going to try to keep this at about 30 minutes, and we really appreciate you being here with us. So I'm going to turn it over to Ray and Charlene, Mom and Dad. Thanks.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for coming.
Yes, we appreciate it. I want you to think about someone with amnesia. This person doesn't know who he is, what he has done, how he got to where he is. In other words, he's just kind of lost about his life and what to do. That's a pretty sad situation, isn't it? Well, historian David McCullough had a comment about history that reminds me of that. He said, "A nation that forgets its past can function no better than an individual with amnesia." That's a sad situation, because everything we do builds on our past, on what we've experienced, what we've learned, who we are. A professor friend of mine once told me, if you don't know history, you don't know who you are. High school students need to know who they are as individuals and who they are as Americans. That's a reason for studying history. And besides, American history gives us great stories of courage, invention, overcoming obstacles, stories of real inspiration for our lives today. And that's why studying history is so important.
At Notgrass History for high school, we have created 3 different options, and Ray is currently working on our 4th option for high school. Some of you may have been hearing us say that for a while, but we really are working hard on it. Ray right now, but we're going to get some more team members on it very, very soon if the Lord wills. And so what we have, John, if you would like to start showing the slides, we have Exploring World History. And Exploring World History is often the high school package that parents choose first for their high schooler. Exploring World History is like all Notgrass history curriculum. It comes with 2 books, 1 for each semester. In high school, we have 15 units in the part 1, and that is 75 lessons because it's 15 units of 5 lessons each. A typical semester has 18 weeks. We write hours with 15 units per semester so that you can finish it easily in a year. So we have part 1 for the first semester, and in world history that goes from creation through the Middle Ages. Then part 2 is for the second semester. It is from after the Middle Ages until the present. And then all of our curriculum includes primary sources. So Exploring World History has a volume called In Their Words, which is a collection of primary sources and of short literature titles. And each of the offerings in Their Words is assigned at the end of a lesson in either part 1 or part 2 of Exploring World History. We also always include review material. So you see here up in the upper right-hand corner our student review pack with a book of questions on each lesson, and questions on the literature and literary analysis of the literature, and I'll talk about the literature in just a minute. And then it also has a quiz and exam book with a quiz on each unit, and then comprehensive exams in history, English, and Bible every 5 weeks. And then it also has an answer key. We also have a literature package. This includes 12 titles. And Exploring World History can be simply history curriculum for high school, but it can also be 3 high school credits. 1 in history, world history specifically, 1 in English, and 1 in Bible. If you're doing the English credit, then you read the short pieces and in their words, the 12 literature titles, and you also complete a project during each unit of the curriculum. In addition to Exploring World History, we offer Exploring America. It has the same kind of package as Exploring World History, with Part 1 with 75 lessons for the first semester, Part 2, 75 lessons for the second semester, and We Hold These Truths, which is, American Voices, got my primary source books mixed up, American Voices, which is our primary source book for high school American history. Again, we have the same type of student review pack and a literature package with 12 titles. In addition to those, we have 2 half-year courses. One of those is Exploring Government, and it is a 1-semester course. It has 75 lessons in the book of lessons, and then it also has a primary source book. It's called We Hold These Truths. We have begun to offer a half-year of English credit with our Exploring Government. Again, the student completes a project during each unit, and the student also reads the 4 literature titles that you see on this slide. Again, we have the same sort of student review pack that we do with our other courses. And then the other curriculum that we have completed for high school is Exploring Economics. Again, 75 lessons for a 90-day semester, and a book of primary sources. This one is called Making Choices. Again, you have the student review pack, and in the lower right-hand corner, you see the literature package that goes along with our Exploring Economics.
So Exploring World History not only gives the big picture of what has happened in our world, but it also focuses on key people, key events, and key ideas that have made a difference in history and in making us who we are and what we do today. Why is our world the way it is? Do you ever wonder that? Well, the world today is the result of what's gone before, and this curriculum will give you some insight into that. Exploring America tells the story of our country. We need to be amazed at what Americans have accomplished. The Transcontinental Railroad being the deciding factor in world wars, sending people to the moon. We also need to be amazed at where we have failed so that we can avoid making those mistakes again. And you will better know who you are as Americans by experiencing Exploring America. And then there are 2 important realities, there are 2 realities that you deal with every day. We have to deal with government, and we have to deal with our economy and function in it. Exploring Government and Exploring Economics are 1-semester courses that help students understand the realities of our world so they can function wisely and well in today's world. They'll understand what the Constitution says. They'll understand how government works today, and those 2 things aren't always the same. They'll understand how markets work, how supply and demand and prices affect you every day. And so those are what we have for high school students from Notgrass history.
You're right. Let me help you out. Pardon me for taking that quick break. I thought Ray needed something to drink, and I thought I needed my script for the high school webinar because I was using the middle school script. Pardon me, everybody. Notgrass history always comes from a Christian worldview. We believe that that is powerfully important in every grade that a student is studying while they're being homeschooled. We begin teaching in our 1st through 4th grade curriculum. We include every lesson comes from a Christian worldview, and we end each lesson in an appropriate Bible verse. Then in middle school, we continue ending our lessons with a Bible verse, but we also add 3 Bible assignments every week. And then when the student gets in high school, we up that Christian worldview segment of our curriculum, and segment's not really a good word because it is woven through every page of our curriculum. But in high school, we continue with the Bible verses at the end of the lessons, and then in Exploring World History and in Exploring America, we also have Bible assignments for the student, much more extensive ones than in middle school. And then every 5th lesson, the whole lesson is devoted to developing a Christian worldview in the context of the history that is happening at the time. Our Exploring Government and Exploring Economics also end in a Bible verse every day, and Christian principles are taught throughout them. But we don't believe there's enough Bible in our Exploring Economics and our Exploring Government to actually offer a credit. But be assured, it is deeply from a Christian perspective. We do this to honor God and to prepare students for living in the world in a faithful way. A lot of people want to know what we recommend as the best order for our curriculum for high school. Typically, I recommend that students begin with exploring world history rather than exploring America, simply because the literature for our American history is more challenging than our literature for the world history, particularly spiritually challenging. The student has to deal with tougher issues in our American history literature than in our world history literature. Right now, we recommend that students do Exploring World History, then Exploring America, and then Exploring Government and Exploring Economics. However, we write all of our curriculum so that it is possible for students in the same family to study it at the same time. So there are not really hard and fast rules that you have to do it in a certain order. But all else being equal, that is the order that I would choose. When we finish our Exploring Geography, we will place our recommendation for that between world history and American history. But for students who've already done 2 or 3 of our courses, it'll be fine to do Exploring Geography in the senior year. But ultimately, if I were homeschooling a high schooler, when our curriculum is finished, I would do world history, geography, American history, and then government and economics. Now, one thing that's true with Notgrass history is that you truly can get 3 credits with all of them except economics and government, and in those you can get 2 half years of credit. So a half year of economics with a half year of English, and then a half year of government and a half year of English, and most people do those the other, I got those switched as to the way people usually do it, usually government and then economics. But the order again isn't hard and fast. One thing that I encourage moms to keep in mind is that our courses are really integrated. Now, you can only do the history if that is what you believe is best for your student and you have a great English curriculum that you already want to use. That is certainly possible. But there are certain benefits to doing it the way we suggest, which is to combine history, reading literature about the time period you're studying in history, writing assignments based on that, and also reading primary sources and short pieces of literature that go along just perfectly with the time periods. We're very excited about how we learned this concept, and we learned it actually in Ray's public school when he was a junior in high school, when his English teacher and his history teacher taught it this way. So when he decided to start writing high school homeschool history, he decided to do it that same way, but to add the all-important, most important Bible component also. And parents wonder how much they need to be involved in our courses, and that varies a great deal. Some students need more hand-holding, other students can pretty much run with it. We never do a teacher's manual with any of our curriculum because we tell everything that you need to know right in the student curriculum package that you get. And then we also have additional information in a very thin little parent guide that comes with our history curriculum, and also there is some information in our student review pack. So if at the beginning of the year a mother or dad who is teaching their homeschool student in high school with Notgrass history, if you'll read all the introductory material in each of the books just at the beginning of the year, and then every week if you'll sit down with your student and look at the introduction to each unit and decide together what you are going to require your student to do from the choices that we offer, then that's really all you have to do with many students. The students can take it from there. And then they can even self-grade their review questions and tests and quizzes if you'd like, or if you want to be involved in the grading, you certainly can do that. We do think it is a really good idea also for the parent to read the writing that the student does.
I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about some of the basics of teaching, some of the nitty-gritty of how all this gets done, especially with our curriculum. Let me say first that I believe a successful homeschool experience is more likely to happen in the context of a successful family experience. So make your first priority building a godly, pleasant, peaceful family life. And with God's help, a good homeschool experience will follow from that. And then I want to encourage you parents to be confident as you teach your children. You are molding your children's hearts, minds, and souls to live with God forever. And you don't want to just barely get by on that. You want to give it your best. And that's what you want your children to do also. Not just to get by, but to give their best in what they have before them. So be confident about giving instruction. You can't make it through life barely getting by, and they can't get through life barely getting by. And this often includes the need to overcome the tendency toward laziness. Sometimes it can be a battle between parent and child when the child says, "Do I have to do this?" or "Do I have to do all of this?" or "Why do I have to do this?" Well, let me encourage you to use our curriculum as a helper in getting through that. We trust you as a parent to decide what activities and assignments that you want to include for your student. So when you determine that, then maybe you can say something like this to your child, to your student. Sweetheart, I believe you need to get a good grasp of this subject, and we're using this curriculum to help you do that. And this is what the curriculum says you need to do. And I believe you can do that. Communicating in that way, I think, takes you out of the role of just being the enforcer and more into the role of being an encourager and a guide. And it helps your student take responsibility for what he or she needs to do to accomplish the work and complete the course. And now we'd like to answer some of the questions you have sent us about teaching your high school students. Let me say first, to echo what Charlene has said, we believe we've provided a lot of good information in 3 places for you. First, the Guide for Parents booklet that comes with every high school curriculum package, and it's also posted on our website. The introduction and how to use this curriculum sections at the first of each curriculum. They're relatively brief, but they're pretty clear on the best way to utilize the material. And then the introduction in the student review book, where the review questions are. If you'll read the introduction to that book also, I think that'd be really helpful. Now, when I get some new gadget, a lot of times I want to just plug it in, turn it on, start using it. But there's this little piece of paper in there called the instructions, and they're in there for a purpose. The purpose is to help me have a more pleasant experience with the gadget. And that's what we've tried to do with these sections for the parents, and I believe that will really help you. We've received the question, how can we help our students, but at the same time allow them to take more responsibility for their own education? Well, our curriculum is designed to do just that. The student can know what he needs to do each week and each day. The assignments are clearly laid out, and the student can take it and go. And when you become familiar with it, you can guide them into using it that way.
Can I just throw something in, if you don't mind, Ray? Back to the reading the introduction and everything. We are not at all belittling you or acting like you don't know what you're doing. It's just that after it's been about 17 years since we first came out with Exploring America, and we have just talked to many parents who had questions, and maybe they were halfway through the year and they had questions, and we have thought, oh my goodness, we explained that in the introduction. I am so sorry you missed it. So we trust you. We trust you to pick. We've provided plenty of activities for the students to do. We don't in any way say you have to make your student do all of them, but we would recommend that you find out what the big picture is, and maybe even before you make the final decision of whether you're going to use our courses for only history or if you're going to include the English and Bible too, I really recommend that you read the introductory material first, because it might save you a lot of headaches later and a lot of issues with your student too. Because sometimes we moms tend to overbuy and try to require too much of our students. And I think if you look at the whole picture, you might decide, wow, this could save all of us so much headache if we just tried to do this the way it's written. While we completely recognize that you know better than we do whether you should do that.
Thank you very much. Another question is, how do I record grades and prepare a transcript? These are very important for high school students, for graduation, for job applications, college applications. Well, our materials help with that. We provide course descriptions in the parent guide. We make suggestions for grading your students' work. And on our website, there are checklists and grading charts that you can use. Some have asked, how can I know the assignments are enough for the students to receive high school credit for their work? Well, that's how we planned it, with that question in mind. It's not busy work, but it is sufficient work for the student to grasp the subjects thoroughly, and that's for 3 credits for the year-long curricula and 2 credits for the one-semester curricula. Read the lesson.
2 half-year credits.
2 half-year
Yeah.
credits, yeah. Read the lessons, do the assignments, take the quizzes and tests, the way we've laid it out. The one thing we did not try to address is grammar. Some students need additional work in grammar. Other students have studied it plenty and are ready to move on. If you feel the need for that, you can utilize a curriculum that fits your child's learning style. Another is asked, how do we develop study skills and note-taking skills and test-taking skills? Well, the short answer is practice and growth. On studying and note-taking, I'd say read the lesson as a whole to get the flow and the whole story. Don't lose that. And then go back and outline to reinforce what they've read and what they've learned. Our lessons have subheadings that the student can use for subheads in an outline. And they can write down the main ideas of each paragraph within those subheads. On test taking, I'd suggest letting the first 2 or 3 quizzes, maybe the first exam, be no grade or open book so that they can get the idea of what the quizzes and tests ask for, to help them see the connection between what the text says and what the tests ask about.
And we're certainly not saying this outlining has to be done, but for a student who's having trouble grasping and remembering, it can be a helpful tool. A lot of students can simply just read the curriculum. We have had a question about how to make real-life school part of transcripts, how to tailor a child's education to fit how they see they are wired versus only including what the government labels as necessary. And so we just wanted to show you a record-keeping system that I developed many years ago that I found very effective. It is simply writing down, in high school, having your student write down everything they do every day, and then putting those activities they do into subject categories so that you can count helping grandma with her taxes as part of their math, and count your field trip to the hydroelectric plant as part of your science, and count preparing Sunday school material for a class your children teaches as arts and crafts or something like that. Counting, working on menus for the family, working on well-balanced meals as part of a health credit or something like that. So we just wanted you to see these. Ray, I think this question is for you. When is geography going to be released?
Exactly when it's finished. But we don't have a date on that yet. We hope to get it out, possibly just as soon as we can.
We figuratively put each other's hands over the other one's mouth when somebody asks us a question like that, because if we say a date, then we don't get to sleep. That date becomes our master, and it's very difficult. So just know that we are working really hard, and we are very sorry that we're not finished with all 12 years. We finished 7. We're currently working on American Geography and Civics for 1st through 4th grade and World Geography for high school. So we expect those to be our next releases.
Someone has asked how they can show Bible study on a transcript. In the Guide for Parents, the booklet that comes in each curriculum package, we have a course description for each of the 3 credits that the course offers, that the history courses offer, and there is a course description for the Bible course that is laid out in those curricula. So you can use that, give that Bible study a title, and let the reader of the transcript know that that was a specific course. You can also download sample units of all these high school courses from our website so that you can see how they work, so your student can read them and see what's involved in using them.
We have video walkthroughs of our high school courses on our website where you can learn in detail, where Ray explains how our high school courses work detail by detail. And I want to say one other thing about the Bible credit. You do need to check with your state requirements to be sure that you are able to count those. We cannot guarantee that the college you're looking at or your state allows it, but I believe that many will. We just are so appreciative of you joining us tonight. And Ray, did you have some words to wrap up?
Well, I just wanted to say that as a parent, your role is to help each child to reach his or her potential as who he or she is. What an exciting prospect to know that you can have that kind of impact in your child's life. This is a very special time for you and your child. And we want to encourage you to do all you can to make it a great experience so you can look back on it with joy and look toward their future with hope.
God bless you as you get ready for the rest of this semester and next fall. Do you have one more question, anybody?
Oh, the question is, how does our high school curriculum address other world religions? We introduce the other major world religions in the world history curriculum. We tell how they got started, some of the basic teachings. Can't say that this is a world religions course, but we certainly introduce other faith systems and make comparisons between them and Christianity.